victory after he endorsed her bid to replace Senator Bill Cassidy. For more, let's welcome in our guest, former Republican nominee for Lieutenant Governor of Virginia and host of Read Revolution podcast, John Reed, as well as senior advisor and research fellow at the Heritage Foundation, Alan Mendenhall. Thank you both for joining us this morning. We're also going to welcome in our special guest, GOP strategist Brielle Joy Applebaum and committeewoman for the Women's National Republican Club, Monica Plock. Let's start with this. President Trump praised Julia Letlow's victory in a Truth Social post, saying, "Great news," couple exclamation marks there. Julia Letlow won in Louisiana, beating conclusively a very strong and smart opponent. Congratulations to Julia. She will be a truly great senator. Now, John, what does Julia Letlow's victory say about Trump's influence here? We've seen as he endorses candidates, they continue to win.
Yeah, look, the president runs the party, and that's the way it should be. But more importantly, the people who voted for Donald Trump 3 separate times, who were the core of the Republican Party, want to see leaders in Washington who are going to back him up and get things done. And one of the problems we've got as a party right now that we need to face head on as the time dwindles towards the midterms is when voters say, "Did you deliver for us?" we have to be able to tick off a list of things that actually mean something to the voters. And I think the president is correctly focused on identifying what he can do with the time he's got left and putting people in place who will actually have his back going forward. That's really important.
So, Alan, we all know that Trump has a pretty solid endorsement record. Did Trump's endorsement this time make the difference, or were there other factors that drove Letlow's victory here?
Yeah, I think it did make a difference, and this is part of a larger narrative. So this we've already forgotten that this was to replace Bill Cassidy's seat, and of course he voted to convict President Trump after the January 6th. So I rank this particular primary up there with ousting Thomas Massie or supporting Ken Paxton over longtime incumbent John Cornyn. And President Trump has been about 98% accurate on his picks for the primaries here. He's gone up since the 2024, where he had a 96% success rate and a 93% success rate in 2022. So as I say, the GOP is consolidating around Trump-aligned candidates, and he's sort of consolidating his influence over the party.
Monica, what does this mean for the GOP base? You have MAGA Republicans, you have moderate Republicans, but it seems to be everyone's kind of getting on the same page heading into the midterm.
I agree here. I mean, it is a completely multi-state trend to some of the other guests' points. You're seeing that ultimately endorsements and loyalty to the America First agenda works. And I think within the party, we're starting to see established Republicans versus the MAGA movement. And yet that is still very, very strong moving towards the midterms. You've seen that, gone are the old, TV ad days of campaigning. If you start seeing those telethons and those big, campaigns that they're pushing and the mega rallies and all the endorsements and most importantly, President Trump's, approvals, you see it moving forward and you continue to see voters leaning that way. So you're starting to see, a very big, MAGA base that's still very present moving towards the midterms. And you've seen that in Kentucky and you see that here too. So it's been across multi-states.
Yeah, and to your point, Brielle, you had mentioned before, Trump's name may not officially be on these midterm ballots, but it essentially is. Trump has a very strong voter base.
Oh, yeah. He's up 20 points in Louisiana all across the state right now. And I also want to look to the prolific nature of his endorsements in South Carolina as well. You had Alan Wilson and Pam Yvette head to a runoff where Pam Yvette was the first endorsed candidate. He second endorsed Alan Wilson, coming across the finish line strong. So that endorsement does make a prolific difference when voters head to the polls.
Yeah, John, back to you here. So farmer and former parish official Jamie Davis secured the Democratic Senate nomination in Louisiana on Saturday, but he enters a very difficult race in a strong Republican red state. Does he present any real challenge to Julia Letlow here in November?
I don't think so. I mean, I think the president's very popular in Louisiana. I was working in the Senate back when we had Mary Landrieu in there. I think the perspective that Louisiana voters have is different than it was 20 years ago, and the president has consolidated his support. And the parties have been so divergent that finding moderate Democrats is pretty tough, and Democrats who are forging the narrative all across the country aren't doing their moderate candidates in middle of the road states any favors. I'm in New York this weekend, and Mamdani continues to dominate the conversation here and across the country. And as long as the Democrats are represented by radical socialists, Islamists, I don't think you're going to see Democrats doing very well in southern states.
Now, Alan, to John's point, let's talk about what has been happening here in New York. You had the Mamdani's backed candidates have a victory here. Is it concerning that this new Democratic Socialist is the new Democratic Party?
Oh, it completely is. And the Democratic Party has become this anti-prosperity party, which is why it's really important that Letlow finish the job here. I mean, Louisiana is a key state. We've been talking about oil and gas prices for months now, and Louisiana is a major producer of petroleum and natural gas. It's got refineries in the port of South Louisiana. And another really important thing is that Letlow supports the Save America Act and doesn't just support it, but has said she'll end the filibuster if necessary to get that over the finish line.
Yeah, we all know Trump would love that. All right, John Reed, Alan Mendenhall, thank you very much for being here. And of course, Brielle, Monica, we'll see you back here shortly. Thank you.
Well, more to come right here on Wake.